Comics Plus, what is up? Your boy Akasan just woke up literally 5 minutes ago or so. So I completely forgot about this, but I know you guys really want to see this. So let's go ahead and do it live. We're probably late by about 10 minutes. But let's see what's going on. C-SPAN, what's up? What? This is, oh, sorry. This is already a joke.
Be worse
Funny.
than the problem itself.
Vice
And that's
President.
what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your
Simply
response.
not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but would they need resources to open? You
I
need
agree.
to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business.
Thank you.
You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so
go.
people cannot
Same as
infect
Japan.
one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this.
And
that
wear a
is not
mask.
inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we can open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up
That
with you
is
quickly.
funny.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about
Kumo ain't
plexiglass,
gonna
these
like
are
that.
restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting
Kumo's
up
not gonna like
plexiglass
that.
is
Kumo
unbelievably
about to say some
expensive.
shit.
And it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was
wonderful. Yeah,
vibrant.
so wonderful
It's
we
dying.
moved.
Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look
Vice
at what
President
New
Biden.
York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the
Exactly.
number of people dying.
Exactly.
And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And
There
look
you
at the
go.
states that are
There you
having
go.
such
Wow.
a spike
Biden
in
coming out
the
hard.
coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make
Yep.
sure we get the help that the businesses need, that
Yep.
money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York
Yeah,
has
Biden
lost
seems-
more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President
Oh,
Trump,
now
what
you
about
care
Say
about that.
spike.
Now you care about that.
Take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed. And they're getting killed financially.
Trump seems
we
more
can't
prepared
let that
this
happen,
time,
Joe.
too.
You
Like,
can't let that
actually,
happen.
like,
we have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and
What's up,
diabetes
Infinity
problems.
Pods?
And we will protect them.
Really?
We
I
have
think
the best
I've seen
testing
you
in the
before. What's
world
up,
by
Apex?
far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up
Does it
with you
show?
before we
Sorry, I
move on
just
to our
woke up,
next
so-
section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts
This
as,
is
quote,
funny.
idiots. If you're
Yep.
not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony.
What?
But
Didn't you
he
just
did
call him an
say,
idiot?
don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be
What?
a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that,
Oh, shit.
I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew.
You just called him an
nobody knew
idiot,
what this
though.
thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we find out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're
the
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. Joe,
I haven't.
you have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money.
Wait,
And
what?
every time you
What
raise
was that
money,
all
deals
about?
are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records
When
like you wouldn't
Fauci
believe. We
did
don't
say
need money.
January
We have
people
plenty of
shouldn't be
money. In
wearing
fact,
masks.
we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money
Exactly,
that she was
saying.
All right,
Yeah, what
gentlemen,
is he
we're gonna
talking
move
about?
on.
About
That's
average
We're gonna-
contribution,
interesting diversion
$43.
there.
All right, we're going to
But
move on
Zoom,
to our
the whole
next
thing about
section,
that
which
is like,
is national
go ahead
security.
and should I pause
and
this
I do
every
want to
once in a
start
while?
with the
All right, real quick. About the thing is like, doctors learn from that situation. Is like, look, yeah, don't wear a mask in January, but yeah, okay, now it's time. Like, now we realize how we have more information, the more, like any sort of thing, the more information you have, the more better it is. Like, I'd be more concerned if he said wear a mask in January and then later said, you don't need to wear one. You know what I'm saying? Hey, thank you for following. Bad boy, yo. Let's continue.
security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election.
I heard about
Both
that.
countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good question.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear.
Don't pause
this
it,
election,
just put the
won't
volume
even get
low.
into the last one.
But I feel like
This
I'm going to
election,
miss something,
that
too.
Russia has been involved. China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere.
I feel like
outcome of
Biden
our
has
election.
dry mouth or
His
cotton mouth.
own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then
Trump
you find
looking
out
kind
that
of
everything
red-orange
that's going
today.
on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that
Orange
I
is
do
sus.
not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question. Why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
There you go.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes.
Yeah, good
Let
point,
me respond
Gummy,
to the
because
first part
you know he messed
as
up.
Joe answered. Joe got $3.5
Like
million
last time.
from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and someday you're going to have to explain why did you get 3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said,
I hear you, Zoom.
the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose. Because there has been nobody tougher than Russia.
Tap, tap, tap. Wrist on glitter.
Thank you for the bitch.
I'ma show you how to bang an 8-figure nigga. Face on fatty, pockets on jigger.
Actually makes the debate a little more
An
interesting.
extra $130 billion going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he
Thank
was
you for the
selling
bits.
pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters
Yeah,
to Ukraine.
it's a good. I'm
There
glad
has
that
been nobody
Trump is
tougher
behaving more.
on Russia than Donald Trump.
This is more
And
appropriate.
I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine.
I wish
You
I had the
handed it
live
to 'em,
fact checker,
But you
though.
were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now,
I'm gonna
with what
catch
came
up
out
to the live
today, it's even worse. All of the emails,
Let's go.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with
And I
China.
think they're gonna mute the
does
mic if they
business
go
in
over
China,
as well.
And in fact, is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number
Ever,
two,
ever.
this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You
There
have
you go.
not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding?
Thought he
Why
just-
are you
I thought he
unwilling?
did release his
Foreign
tax
countries
returns
are
finally.
paying you a lot.
They were forced.
Russia's paying you a lot.
Oh,
China's
shit.
paying you a lot.
Oh.
And your hotels and all
Trump
your
did the
businesses all
face.
around the
He
country,
did the debate
all around
face.
The world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So
Oh,
what's
wow.
going on here? Why don't you
Really?
release your tax return or
Really?
stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this
Oh, God.
company is. But much more importantly
Sure.
than that, people were saying
Here's come
$750.
Diversion.
I asked them
Here we
a
go.
week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you could
that.
release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written. Whenever they write this,
Did he
they're
just
talking
interrupt
about
the debater?
$750,
The
which
moderator?
I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you.
What the
I
fuck?
prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the
Honestly,
big
at
man,
this
I think.
point, I don't know what's
maybe
real and
you're
what's not with
But you're
this
the big man, I
situation.
think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man.
The
Joe,
COVID
what's
thing is
that
the
all
main
about?
thing
It's
that I've-
terrible.
no.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have
about
to
all of this.
respond to
But
that.
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You
Oh,
just
she's
said
kinda
you spoke
cute.
to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have a
soon as the audit is
deadline for
finished.
when you're going to release them
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated.
What the
But
Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have-
of people in there.
What?
Deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly.
What?
We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Entanglement.
to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years?
That's a good
Show
point.
us.
Yeah,
Just show us. Stop
right.
playing
That's
around.
a very good point.
You've
Like
been
you
saying
just
for
keep
4
on
years
saying,
you're going to
yeah.
release your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now it's a prepaid situation.
President Trump,
That
and then
is
I
a
want to
good
get
point.
to two
Wow.
questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I
Yeah,
went
that's
through. Let me
ridiculous,
just
that
say
one.
this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong.
Good
48
response.
million.
That's actually a
I
good one.
guarantee you, if I spent $1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because
Now he
the
fucked it
kind
up
of
by
things
taking a
that you've
personal
done
shot
and
like
the kind
that.
of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq. Millions
this
of
is
dollars.
like,
Your
see,
other
Trump was
brother made a
doing well,
fortune.
but then
And
he
it's all
takes
through
a
you, Joe.
personal
and they
shot,
Say you get some
and then
of them.
it just
and you
looks
do live
fucking
very well. You have
dodgy and
houses
shady
all
and
over the
shit
place.
when
You
he
live
does
very
that.
well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some
Like, he had a
questions
good
about all of this
response, like,
broadly.
that
Vice
was
President
enough
Biden,
for
there
him to
have
do
been
that,
questions
but
about the
so
work your son
weird.
has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president.
Christine
in
Welker.
retrospect,
Didn't Trump
was
say she
anything
was going
about
to be
those
horrible?
relationships
She seems pretty
inappropriate
good
or
so
unethical?
far.
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong.
Is it just
Yet
me or
every
is
single
Trump's-
solitary
He's
person
got a
when he
lot
was
of
going
like
through his
yellow
impeachment,
on his jacket,
testifying
yellow
under oath
like
to work for him, said I did
on my
my
camera.
job
That's the way
impeccably.
he's coming out.
I
for some
carried out
reason.
U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line.
The
Not a
lighting on
single
him
thing.
is really strange.
Number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do.
This is hard
They
for
did
me
not
to
do, because
figure
it
out,
never,
like, because
ever,
I don't
ever
follow
happened. My
this
son has
particular
not
story
made
so
money
much.
in terms of this thing about what are you
about the
talking
sons
about?
again.
China. I have not had the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
did
Trump,
deal with
let me,
China.
let me
By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
But
and
could
then
I just
you'll-
one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get
Republican
into
versus
that.
Democrat is Marvel
And he
versus
didn't have a
DC.
job.
I certainly
as soon as
hope
he
not.
became
No
vice
way.
president,
There's
Burisma,
God,
not
I
the
would
best
stop.
not
If
the
that were the
best
case,
reputation in the
none of
world.
us would be
I hear they
taking
paid him
part in any of the movies
$183,000
and such.
a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million.
Pablo, I think that's his
upfront payment.
strongest.
And he had no
I'm
energy.
going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very quickly.
No
Mr.
basis
Vice
for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A
That's a
report
good
this
point.
week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I
That's
closed
true,
it.
Zoe.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him,
that is
where
so
he's vice
disrespectful the
president
way
and
he's
he does
like
business,
he talks to
I then
women. The way he
decided
talks to
run for
women
president
is
after
you can
that.
tell
That was
there's a
before.
big difference.
So I closed it before I even ran
like-
for president, let alone became president. Big
He's
difference.
one
He is the vice
emotional
president of the
moment
United
away from
States,
saying,
and his
"Bitch,
son, his
please."
brother,
Excuse
and
me,
his
bitch.
other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking
Okay,
up money every
President Trump,
place he
thank you.
goes.
We do
Not
need to
true.
move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more
Again with
broadly.
China, man.
There have, of course,
She using
President
a
Trump
gamer
has
chair?
said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And
Hey, why is
please
there no
be specific.
plexiglass
What
on
would
this
that look
one?
like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property, you have to have a partner in China. It's 51%.
Yeah, I thought
we would
that
not
was
do
weird.
that
The
at
vice
all,
presidential one, they had
Number
a.
two, we're in a situation where China would have
And
to
they
play
were
by the rules internationally
sitting
as
last
well.
time for some reason
When I met with
instead of
Xi,
standing.
and when I was still vice president, he said,
I guess
we're
because
setting
it's
up
6
air
feet of-
identification zones in
like,
the-
it's more
in the
than
South
6
China
feet, so
Sea.
it's
You
okay,
can't fly
whatever.
through them. I said, we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52,
Kamal
B-1 bombers
was about to
through
do
it.
it.
We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and
Oh, boy.
and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding
It's
steel
interesting, though,
tariffs
because
and
I
a
always
range of other
thought,
things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's
Trump
talk
was
about
always
North Korea.
against China,
You don't
though.
have to
Like,
respond to that.
yeah,
Okay.
I got.
Very quickly, and then
His
we're
son
going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
North
$1.5
Korea.
billion from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your
Again with
family
the
wanting to make
emails.
$10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going
nice.
to do to make
Cut
China
his-
pay? You've
cut
said
his
you're going
ass
to
off.
make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave
New
$28 billion.
sanctions? New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers. because
Taxpayers'
China,
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money didn't come
No,
from
yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is? It's called China.
What?
China paid
What?
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your
Biden
family.
needs some water, though.
And your family's hurting
I'm good.
badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires
how
for
did
the
we get
ball
to
because we have
this
to wait another
from
month or
China?
so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want
That is a
to talk
typical
about
statement.
North Korea.
Excuse me, just
I do
for
want
one
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks. The family,
That's a good
around
point.
the table, everything. Just a typical
Nah,
politician
that's a good
when
point.
I see
Trump,
Let's
that.
talk
that-
about
Not a
North
typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I
that
got
was smart
elected.
from,
Now,
Let's talk
let's
about-
get off the subject of
Trump.
China. Let's talk around sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on.
Okay,
Jim,
you
can do
made
better.
the
We're
point.
going to
Let's
talk
move
about
on.
North Korea
Yeah,
now.
but
President
that was a
Trump,
good point
you met with
from
North Korean
Trump.
leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile
that.
and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next one.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in
Trump
Seoul.
writing
Millions of
fanfic.
people would be
Okay.
dead right now.
President
we
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration.
You see how
Why do
he
you
almost
think you would be
imploded
able
there,
to rein
getting
in
flustered.
persistent threat?
As I make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the
Hell
deal.
yeah, you
because
put a
here's the
black
deal.
woman
I
on
made
this
it clear
moderator.
As a
She's like,
spokesperson
I
of the
said 2
administration
minutes,
when I went to
motherfucker.
China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do
You know you're going to go on Twitter and complain that
military
he didn't get a
maneuvers
chance
with
to
South
talk.
Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy, who's a thug.
Oh, shit.
And he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean
That ain't
Peninsula
gonna
should be
work.
nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on
That
to
ain't gonna work.
American
Kristen,
families.
they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
Oh,
seconds,
my
President.
God.
They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
No,
got to
for
give him a
fuck's sake,
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's
I-
okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to
of
move
other
on because
countries
we have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
we have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
Your
bad.
That's like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded.
Damn.
Eastern Europe.
He
Come
pulled
on.
the H
See,
card.
The reason he
Oh,
would not meet
shit.
with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and
go.
stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And
let's
it didn't
move
happen.
on.
Oh
Let's
my
move on and talk
God.
about
He left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump. Okay, we do
They
need to move on.
left me a mess. North
Oh
Korea
my
was a
God.
mess.
We
And
need
in
to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can
first
get to all
2 or
of our
3
other
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country had.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over
I agree,
20
Zoe.
million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's
here we
headed to
go.
the Supreme
This is a
Court,
big one.
and your administration, Mr. President, is
Yep,
advocating for the court to overturn it.
Yep.
If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken
repeal
away?
and
You have 2
replace.
minutes uninterrupted.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision, run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down, everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But
What?
come up with a better health care,
Did he make some
always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million
random.
plans.
He's like just
we
throwing
have done
out
an
like
incredible
different
job on health care,
things.
and we're going to do even better.
I kind of get what he's saying.
Okay,
Let me
Vice
respond.
President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now, by allowing the Medicare
healthcare is so
negotiate
insane.
Drug prices with
insurance
companies.
It's
Thirdly,
crazy. I didn't really
the
realize
idea
how
that
bad
I
it
want
was
to eliminate
until I
private
started
insurance.
living
The
out
reason
here.
why I had such a fight
Paid
with 20 candidates for the
less than
nomination
$100
was
for a colonoscopy,
I
a
support
full body.
private insurance. That's why I
crazy.
did. Not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan,
Bidencare.
nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else.
I remember I paid
Lastly,
$800
we're going to
one
make
time
sure we're in a
for,
situation that we
aspirin
actually
in
protect
America.
pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan at the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover.
Look like
10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice
I
President
pay like
Biden. It
less than
relates to
$200 a
something
month
that President
for
Trump
my
said. He's
national
accusing you of
health
wanting
care.
socialized medicine.
Thank you for
What
following,
do you say
Colby.
to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your
say it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege,
braces
it's a
are
right.
really expensive.
Everyone should have the right to have affordable
Cleaning my
health care.
teeth costs
And I am
me-
very proud of my plan. It's
cleaning my
gotten
teeth
endorsed
costs
by
me around
all the major
$10 or
labor
something
unions,
out
as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save
do that
people's
today.
lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance your company's gone under? We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Healthcare is
for
really messy
47
though in the
years.
states
He didn't
because
do
there's
it.
so many like
He was
lobbyists
now
and people
there as vice president for
getting
8
rich
years,
off
and
of
it's
this.
not like it was 25 years ago.
It's hard to believe
it was
what to
3
trust
and
at all.
3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less
He's
than
trying to
4
talk
years
to the
ago.
people,
He
Zoom.
didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you went with fracking.
This is a hard one.
We're not going to have fracking.
Call,
We're going to
but I
stop
do
fracking.
believe
We're going to
that
stop fracking. Then he goes to
Americans need some
Pennsylvania
sort of
after he gets a
national
nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania.
Insurance.
And he says, oh, we're going to
It's
have
very
fracking.
my
And you never
entire
asked the
life has
question.
changed
And
for
by
the
the way,
better.
so far, I respect
Ever since
very
I
much
had the
way you're
national
handling
health
this, I have to
insurance.
say.
By the way,
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask
He goes for a year. There will be
we
no
have
fracking. There will be no petroleum.
we have a number of topics we're
No,
going to
but
get
that's a
to.
big- that's a big question.
We're going to get to. We're going to get to.
It's
It's the
a number
same
of
thing with
topics.
socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice
to
President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care.
That was weird.
Period.
That was
Period,
weird.
Period. And
Yeah.
the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected
Get this man
billing,
some water,
and have
though.
your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done
That's a
a
good
thing
point.
for anybody
That is
on
a good
healthcare.
point.
Not a thing.
Kristen, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I wanna talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine, and when he and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare Totally
Wrong.
destroyed, and destroying your Social Security, and this whole country
Just
will
keep
come
pulling a
down.
Trump.
You know, Bernie
Wrong.
Sanders tried it
Wrong.
in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
It
let's
was
let Vice President
impossible
Biden
to work.
respond.
It doesn't
Yeah,
work.
Zoom.
Biden
I don't
will
think
respond.
free is
Thinks
the
he's running
answer, but
against
at
somebody
least
else. He's
cheaper.
running
At
against
least
Joe
cheaper.
Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them.
I
Joe
just think,
Biden
but I
is
think
running
in,
against.
in
And
general,
idea
the way
that
the
we're in a
healthcare is set
situation
up
that
in
they're gonna destroy
America
Medicare,
is just
this is the guy
doctors
that the
get
actuary
rich
at
and
Medicare
richer.
said,
Nurses,
if
like,
in
well,
fact,
not nurses,
at
but
Social
just doctors,
Security,
just
if in fact he
medical,
continues to
everything,
withhold his plan to withhold the
drug
tax on
related,
Social
you just
Security,
get rich out
Social
there.
Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So no, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare.
That's funny.
Come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of.
seconds,
He
Mr.
tried to
President,
hurt
and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago. Go back
What
and
is
look at
his
the records.
face?
He
He
tried
looks
to
like
hurt
a-
Social Security years ago.
All
One
right,
thing,
let's
He
move
kinda
on.
looks
I'm
like
gonna
a
move
bloated
on.
when they
Owen
announced
Mr.
Wilson.
President, I have to
but-
move on to the next question.
They said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
gonna have
will
time
boom
to talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
biggest
move on to the
analysts are
next
saying that.
question
Let me respond.
very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last
Okay, I'm
3
done.
years
Both of you
during this
guys.
crisis,
Let's move to the next one. Let's
the
go.
billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to
Kristen,
move on, gentlemen.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna
People's
move on.
stock are through the roof.
All
And
right.
he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of
gonna-
time before
okay,
he even knew it.
we're gonna move on to
and
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief
Godzilla.
bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately,
That's
that's one
true.
of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget,
But then
we've
they
already
recalled
approved
it?
3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because let me
Republicans will
ask
pass it.
Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get
Oh,
a deal for the
interesting.
American
Good
people?
point.
Well, I have, and they have
Good
pushed
point.
it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get
It's like the most emotion
$145
I've
billion
ever seen from
to
this
local
dude.
communities
Like
that have to
recently.
balance their budgets, and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers,
point,
so they
Zoom.
can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The bill
with
that
these
was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money,
Biden looked
billions
like he
and
about to
billions
pass
of
out.
dollars to these
Like
kids.
he about
It was
to-
also a way of getting a lot of money
Wow.
from our people's pockets
What's up,
to
Cole?
people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what
I
that
kinda wanna
does,
see
and I'd love to
Trump
do that, I'd
rock
love
the
to help
ball,
them,
like,
but what
as
that
well.
does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of
Lex
taking
Luthor.
care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By
I
the way,
want
if
to.
I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President,
I agree.
We are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. It's not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to
said
get
we
your
have to help our small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very recently.
We have to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen?
The biggest point is like they make their main point within the opening sentence. Everything else doesn't really need to be said.
You would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
in
what I really like, in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different
what
places.
the hell?
I know different
really?
places. They're all different.
The minimum wage is
Some
$15.
$15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty.
Yeah, I agree,
People are making
Cole.
$6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not
I'm getting
true.
angry. He looked mad, man.
We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen. And we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border.
Man, that's a weird one about
kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall.
You might be right.
You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you reunite these kids with their families?
That's the question.
They built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And
No,
then they
answer
had
the
a picture
question,
in a
dude.
certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes,
Thank
we're
you.
working on it we're trying very hard.
What?
But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500-plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents.
Is coyotes a code name for something else?
Violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not
They built the
separate
cages.
They,
who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were
immigrants,
ripped, their kids were
smugglers.
ripped from
Okay,
their
thank
arms
you.
and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go.
They're Batman.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I
about
will say this.
immigration.
They
10
went down.
seconds,
We
and then
brought
I need to ask
reporters,
a question.
everything. They are so well taken care of.
What?
They're in facilities that
I knew he was
going
gonna
to
go that
Some of you
route,
haven't
though.
been
Such good.
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record
Homelander.
deportations as well as family detentions at the border before
built the
changing
cages?
course. So why
Who
should
built
voters
the
trust in
cages?
immigration overhaul
Biden.
now?
You must have
Made a mistake.
friends.
It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called
does it say
dreamers,
Genshin Impact?
those
My bad.
DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The
Let me
idea that
fix
they are
that.
being sent home by this guy and they want to do that.
We're watching
is they're
Old
going
Man
to a country
Impact.
they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across
Generic
the,
impact.
the Rio Grande River, and it's
What's
and
that
it's-
word I'm looking
and
for?
It's
It
illegal.
starts with a G that
you say,
describes
"Oh no, mom,
old
leave me
people."
here. I'm not going to go with you." They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President
Kristen,
Trump,
he
your
had
reaction.
8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've
We
changed
did.
without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with.
No,
But
not
he had
grandparent.
8 years he
Grandparent
was vice
impact.
president.
No, it's something else that
He
starts with a
did
G
nothing
to describe
except
old
build
people.
cages to keep children in.
Vice President
Wrong.
Biden, your response.
The catch and release. You know what he's talking about there?
You got coffee?
If in fact
You
you
want
had
coffee?
a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise: why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response.
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It
on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a
Oh,
very
there we
bad
go.
person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry
This
Mason.
particular
We're gonna
topic,
give you a court
I don't
case.
follow
When you say they
in
come
depth
back,
enough
they
to,
don't come back, Joe.
understand.
They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest
Mexican?
IQ,
Oh,
they
wait,
might
what?
come back.
Okay,
But
President
very,
Trump, let's
very
give
What?
Vice President Biden a chance to
What?
respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know the
section.
law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move
But
on
we don't have to
the
worry
next
about it. They
section.
terminated
Joe,
it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Let's
Stop,
move on to
Trump.
the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race
Like-
in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and brown Americans experience race in this country.
Oh, boy.
Part of that experience is something called
Get ready
the
for the
talk.
fly. It's
it
fly
happens
time.
regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families.
I know-
Do you
I
understand
know
why
Black.
thee parents fear for their children?
I am
do.
black.
I
I have a
do.
lot of black friends.
You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has her graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street.
The most effed up
Sure
meme I've ever seen was the one with Obama
yes,
getting
sir,
pulled
no,
over
sir.
by the police.
Hands on top of the
But I
wheel,
used to be
because
president. Yeah,
you
sure.
are, in
Hands on
fact,
the
a victim,
roof.
whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it. But we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses.
You funny.
All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things.
Oh, shit.
Just to give people
Biden
a
about
shot.
to end
It's about
racism?
accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is
I'm
to
joking,
be
of
free
course.
from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do.
Really?
And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community.
That's actually
And they were called,
nice.
and he called them super predators.
Nice.
And he said that. He said it,
Nice.
super predators.
Good job.
And they have never lived that down. 1994, your
I
crime
wonder if
bill,
Biden's going to go
super
to the whole
predators.
rent situation
Nobody
with
has done
Trump.
more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and
He just
Joe
compared
didn't
himself
do
to
it.
Abraham
I
Lincoln.
don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your
Wait, what was
records,
that?
your
What
response
was
to
that? Did you guys hear
My
that?
response to that is I never,
Did he get muted
ever
accidentally
said
or what?
what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in
Did you guys see that?
2000, though,
Yeah,
after
yo.
the crime bill
What the
had been
fuck was that?
in
The
the
voice
law for a
box
while,
go out?
This is the guy who said the problem with the crime bill
NSA?
is not enough people in
Tuning in?
jail. There's not enough
His
people
mic
in
cut
jail.
out after
and
2
go on my
minutes. I
website,
get
get
it.
the
Okay.
quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent
That
black
is
kids,
true.
he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty.
Point to
None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration.
I agree, Zach.
And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this. But you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
Oh,
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response
That's
to that.
actually pretty good.
That
That was actually really good on Trump's side. That
I hope
was
he doesn't
good.
look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am. You know who he is. You know his character. You know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up.
Excuse me.
Please respond,
If
and then we're
this
going to have
stuff
follow-up
is
questions.
true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody's
Take a look
President
at the
Trump, I
laptop
want to
from
stay
hell.
on the issue
Excuse
of
me,
race. We're
take a
talking
look
about
at
the issue.
laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody.
talking about
What the
race
hell?
right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I
you've
have to
described.
respond
Good point.
to that.
No.
Because look,
Very
there
quickly.
are 50
Oh, my
former
God. What the
national
fuck?
intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
What the
You
fuck?
That's
gotta be-
exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This
was
is
told.
where he's going. The
That-
laptop is Russia.
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Oh, my
I want
God.
to stay on the issue
So
of
nobody
race.
wants to
You
talk
have
about
to
black
be
people,
kidding.
huh?
Here we
Mr.
go
President?
again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement
So
as a
fun.
symbol of
Oh,
hate.
no.
You've shared a video of a
boy.
man chanting white power to millions
good
of your
point.
supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment
Oh,
rights should
boy,
be
get
fired.
ready.
What do you say to Americans
Here
who
we go,
say
guys.
that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am
All
the
lives
least
matter.
racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't
and by
know. I
the-
mean, I don't know what to say.
Yo,
I got
did he
criminal
just go up
justice
there?
reform done and prison
Did he just
reform
go
and
there?
opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. What? But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the
Because
least
it's so black.
racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice
Yo,
President
he said
Biden,
it
let me ask
3
you
times,
very quickly,
and
then I
that
have
is a
follow-up
very
question.
key point for a lot of
Abraham Lincoln
people.
is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He
You say it
pours
3
fuel
times
on
because you
every
want it to stick
single
in people's heads.
racist
Interesting.
fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's
Right.
banned Muslims because they're Muslims.
Yep.
He has moved around and made everything worse.
Don't
across
forget
the
about the
board.
Obama birth
he
certificate.
Says about the poor boys. Last time we were on
Proud
stage
boy.
here, he said,
Proud
I told
boy.
him to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you
What?
10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
A
He
dog
made
whistle?
reference
Oh, I
to
get it.
Abraham
Okay.
Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
where did that? No.
You said-
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has
No, probably
anybody
better.
done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I
saying-
didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now,
No, you said you
have done
said you
nothing
possibly
other than the
better
Cotton
than
Bill,
Abraham
which
Lincoln.
put
Oh, God.
Tens of thousands of black men, mostly in jail.
All right, let me,
And you know
let me,
what?
a- let me
they
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about-
very, very badly.
The-
Just
the-
take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime
Oh,
bills
my
that you
God.
supported in the 80s and 90s
These are
contributed
poor
to the
boys.
incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change it since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded.
We
by
got coffee,
Republican
friends.
They should
Now I can
not be
focus on
going
the
to
real
jail
issues.
for
Thank you,
a
honey.
drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. Treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done because I think maybe the American people have now seen
this from
that in fact it was a
nerdyurges.com.
mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these
Damn,
politicians.
Trump is coming in actually
Why
pretty
didn't he
fired
get it done?
today.
That's what I'm
He's
going to
good.
do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama.
This is actually
as your
really good.
president,
I
your
agree with
leader,
you, King.
For
She's
8
fine as
years.
fuck, man.
Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Joe.
We got a
Your
lot of
response.
it done. We released
didn't get
38,000. We
anything
got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying.
Okay, good
we can
response.
Look at
Good
pattern of
response,
practice of
Biden.
Police departments and what they were doing.
I'm
how
glad
they were
that he got a
conducting
chance to
themselves.
respond to
I
that.
could go on, but
Right.
we began the process. We began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I
Quick
just
response,
asked,
and then we're
I
gonna
just
move
asked
on to
one
climate
question.
change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago?
Does it take 8?
Why didn't you do
But
it? You just
it
said,
doesn't
I'm
take
gonna
8
do
years.
That, I'm gonna
Like
do this.
you can, like
You
he
put
just
tens of
explained it though. He
thousands
started
of
it, but
mostly
yeah.
black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why,
Because-
Joe? Because you're all talk and no
Oh my
action.
All right,
God.
Vice President
Because
Biden,
we had
and
a
then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress.
Wait.
That's the answer.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe.
All
Sometimes
right.
you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running out of
already done.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please.
I mean, that
We
is
both have
really
very
true.
different
Like, people
visions on
t-
climate
like,
change. President Trump,
People
you
have
say
a
that
very thin
environmental
memory.
regulations
Like,
have hurt
remember when the
jobs in
Republican Party
energy
was
sector?
basically the
Vice President
party
Biden,
of
you
no?
have said you see
Like,
addressing climate change
most of
as an
Obama's
opportunity
run,
to create
they were
new
just like,
jobs.
no
For
on
each of you,
everything. It was
how would you
crazy,
both
man.
combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out
dude is
because
so
we were going to
funny.
have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Because nobody's out
President
fucking
Biden destroyed our
driving. That's
industries.
why.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you.
Nobody's at work anymore.
Climate
Yeah, of
change,
course
climate
you've had the
warming,
best carbon
Global
emissions.
warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit limit emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs.
Hey,
We're going to
Siri?
invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to
Biden
see
needs
to
some
it
water,
that
though.
we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all
Can we
going to
move
do,
on
it's
to the
going to
next
create
topic?
millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, your
They came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his
nothing to do with
environmental
climate.
plan, you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate.
Yo,
She's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate.
What are you
and they're
talking
all
about?
hopping through hoops
Hey.
for AOC plus 3. Look,
AOC
Their
playing
real plan
Among Us
costs
the other day
$100
was
trillion.
fire, man. I
if we
really
had the
want
best
to play
year
with
in
her.
the history of our country
Wait.
for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When
Well,
he says
that too,
buildings,
but
they
yeah.
want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen, and this wasn't done by
Wait,
smart
AOC,
people.
the Twitch
This
streamer?
wasn't done
She's in
by
Congress?
Anybody, frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice
Cool,
President
it's kinda
respond, and
normal
we're running
for
out of time, and
debates
we have a
for
lot
that.
more
You'll
questions to
destroy
get
our
to.
Wait, we
So
still have
let's hear
more to
from the
go?
Vice
I'm
President.
done with
I have a
this.
number more
I
questions.
don't know
Wait, it's
where
already
it comes
been-
from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was
Time out.
endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills.
What? Are you serious?
Jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages,
No.
$45-50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
I'm with that.
President Trump,
Excuse me.
please
We are
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive. kills all the birds. It's very
What?
intermittent.
What?
Got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist
Solar.
who said that.
I love solar.
Yeah, for
but solar
reals,
doesn't
man.
quite have
For
it yet.
reals.
It's not powerful
What
yet.
the hell?
To really
Wind
run our
kills
big,
lots of
beautiful
birds.
factories that we need to compete with the world. So
False.
it's all a pipe dream.
What?
But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right,
now,
let me
now we
let
have
me
to
have
ask
let
him
me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is,
Show
he's
the list.
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer we need other industries
Airbender
to
versus
transition
the
to get
Orange
to
Nation.
ultimately a complete zero emissions
fire-
by 2025.
fire
What
orange.
I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we
Fire
can
orange.
capture
Orange
the
fire
emissions
nation.
from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then
Excuse me,
we have.
he was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania,
so
then he
funny,
said,
man.
but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking
You said
and or
fracking.
oil
You
on
didn't say
federal
Let
land.
me ask this
I
final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final
Oh, my
section.
God, is there
President
more?
Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In
boy.
Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are
Is it 2 hours?
employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more
I'm
money
hungry.
than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater the percentage gain than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more.
Isn't
Now,
there something in the stream?
somebody lives-
Isn't
I
there a
have not
way in
heard
the
the
stream where
numbers or
people
the
can order food for
statistics
you
that you're saying,
in the
but
stream?
they're making a tremendous
Wasn't that
amount of
supposed to
money
be a thing
economically. We
back in the
saved
day?
it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia,
Right,
Mexico,
wasn't
and
that a thing?
Russia
I don't
to
remember
cut back,
now.
way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive
That'd be dope.
gasoline. Remember
Vice
that.
President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute. Chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute.
Okay, thank
I
you,
used to
Zoe.
live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any
Thank you
place
for following,
including
Zach.
in Houston.
Appreciate you.
When my mom
We're-
get in the
we're-
car,
we're,
when
headed
the
towards
first
the end
frost
here.
to drive me to school, turning the windshield wiper, there'd be
This is
oil
the
slick
end,
in the
my
window.
friend.
That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions, the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
What's
Okay,
up, Val?
I have one final
Would
question.
it
Here we go,
close
the
down
final
oil
question.
industry?
It falls-
Would you close
it
down the
falls-
oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's a big
transition.
statement.
It is a big statement
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's a big
do that-
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time, and I'd stop giving to the oil industry. I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas. Excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context. But the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he gonna
final
get
question
China to
both
do
of
it?
you. No,
Oh
we're
my
finishing.
God.
Move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final
Yo,
question. We have
Trump.
to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our
rejoin
final
Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All
That'll
right, this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back.
China virus.
Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls
her makeup
from
is
people
looking
that
good,
were
man.
not
Real good.
normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency,
Is that so, Zoom?
honor,
Interesting.
respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic
Damn, she
debate.
fine as fuck,
Really
though.
appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden.
Somebody
thank you to
somebody
Belmont
Google her
University
name
for
up?
hosting us
Let's see
tonight.
what's up.
And most importantly, thank you to those watching
What's she
tonight.
all about?
Election Day is
She looked
November
mixed.
3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the jawline. Trump don't look so happy. Here comes the wife. Oh, the other wife. Damn, why is she looking like Melina from Mortal Kombat? Did she walk across the street like she just wait, did she get a matching mask for her dress? That's so funny. This awkward, you don't play any music or anything in that. I was saying Melina. Yeah, Katana, nah, that's too nice, man. Oh, she looks tired, though. What the hell? This awkward silence is so weird. Yeah. Wait, whoa, did you see that push? What was that? Whoa. Wait, did you see that, like, rip and then that push? Was that just coincidental or what? Now everybody wants to wear a mask. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of weird. But maybe it was just coincidental. Hold on. Let's rewind that. Sun. Oh, hold on. Let's see the thickness. Okay. Let's see what we're working with here. All right. Yeah. As far as politics go, that's kind of the that's probably the best we got right now. I'm just saying, in the most respectful way. That is true. She's not wearing a mask either. No talking.
And now it's time to hear from you and get your reaction to this final debate of
You got my reaction, C-SPAN, and you can see it on YouTube right now. Okay, let's go.
Thank you, everyone, and
I want to see that.
night.
I want to see that one push there. Okay, let's not get too horny on the main here. All right. I wish I could like just do microseconds here, but somebody's putting out a Mortal Kombat edit to that one. Katana, Jade, Biden, Trump, presidential combat. Yo, I'm dying at this matching floral mask though. She looks so tired though. Damn, I didn't realize she had like mad bags under her eyes. All right, watch. Look at this. Yoink, push. Maybe it's just coincidental. All right, so
To walk around and see this marvelous campus.
what is this?
We
Okay.
also-
Let me go back because I missed the first part of this. So let me.
And
Okay, hold on. Let's take a look here. What's her name? We're about to Google some stuff. Yeah, that makeup's on point, man. She did a good job with that.
right now, as we welcome to the
Christine
stage
Welker.
former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
You guys see that one meme where they came out? Okay. All right. She all right.
And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both
okay. So
microphones
that's what happened.
will remain on. But on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President
Is she
Trump,
Native
the first question is
American?
for you.
Okay.
The country is heading into
I'm
a
surprised that
dangerous
we didn't get a
new phase.
Pocahontas joke
More than
from
40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease. that
Okay,
came
so
from
they spent
China.
like the first
It's
20
a
minutes on
worldwide
this.
pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost.
So you
any
agree
other
with me about the
country.
Owen Wilson
And
thing,
we're
right?
fighting it, and we're
They
fighting
look
it
like
hard.
they could
There
be
is a
related.
spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming.
Wait, Trump just
It's ready.
posted. Hold on, let me
It's
pause something.
going to be announced within
What
a
did
week.
Trump just post already? What happened? What's up? What did he post? Breaking news. What happened? Here you go, Joe Biden.
For fossil fuels, including coal and fracking
Damn,
in the
10
Biden
minutes already.
administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those. I guarantee we're going to end fossil fuel. No more, no new fracking. I'd gradually move away from fracking.
And I think it's critically important on day one that we end any fossil fuel leases on public lands.
Well, like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipeline infrastructure and
They want to do the same thing I want to do. They want to phase out fossil fuels, and we're going to phase out fossil fuels.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Would there be any place for
Okay. Yeah. Somebody say, wait, did he make a comment about racism and the room being too dark to see? All right. Let's go back to the thing. I mean, it's not really a deal breaker on that one. I'm like,
and
whatever.
it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp
That is
Speed,
funny,
which
though.
is
They got him on it. Like, his people were working on it. Good for Trump.
I can tell you from personal experience that
You know, well, Trump ain't doing it. I mean, they had 30, 40 minutes to get ready to do that.
I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators. We're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month.
Dude about to be on The Walking Dead. I'm immune.
It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible.
Damn, he was already cotton-mouthing in the beginning of this debate.
United States of America.
Bro.
We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure.
The only problem is that it doesn't matter if he wants people to wear a mask. The U.S. is so messed up about this, like, thought process. Like, it boggles my mind about that, like, so much. I think Jon Stewart said it the best, was like, look, like, do you not want your doctor? The doctors wear masks all the time. Surgeons wear masks all the time. So the next time, you're getting operated on, do you just want your doctor to rip that off or something like that? It just boggles my mind, that situation. So it doesnto matter if he wants people to do it or if he's going to try to force people to do it. Like, this lack of compliancy and this lack of trying to better your fellow man, looking out for your fellow man just to be inconvenienced for just a few minutes when you go into the store shopping. It's so bizarre to me. But again, I live in a country where when you get sick, even if you fucking cough just a little bit, you wear a mask. That's it, you know? When you get sick, you're wearing a mask to protect, not to protect yourself, but to protect other people. So it's weird how, you know, and we got, I don't know, whatever. We got to see a movie. We got to see Demon Slayer last week. All right, let's go.
That we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
Oh, really?
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you and your comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that
Say
a
what?
guarantee?
Say
No,
what?
it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well.
No.
Moderna is doing very
Wait
well.
a second. What are you talking about? Trump? No. Wait a second. So I have I have a student who works for Johnson & Johnson and such, and so I've gotten like information on that. Johnson & Johnson just stopped their testing. Like, I just read that like 2 days ago. They had to fucking halt their tests because their patients were going like doing some I Am Legend type shit. Like, they were having some problems with their test subjects. It's like, hold on a second. Hold on. No, Trump. No. Be careful what you say on that one, man. Let's continue.
Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine.
What?
And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What
Don't take
steps
that
would you
shit.
take
Don't
to
take
give
that shit
Americans
anytime
confidence
soon.
in a vaccine if it were approved?
Don't
Make
take
sure
that
it's
shit.
totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that
This
don't
might
worry,
be the
we're gonna
one
end
that
this
I'm
by
talking about.
the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has
It's a
no
sick
clear
subject.
plan.
This
and
might
there's
be
no
it.
prospect that there's
But
going
I
to be
think
a
it was, like,
vaccine
more than
available
just
for the
one, though.
majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you
I
have
don't
no
think we're
plan.
going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease.
I think I've
which we
seen
didn't
enough.
at the beginning.
Is there anything more that I
When I
missed?
closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster.
This is how
far less lethal,
I Am Legend starts,
but
man.
it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers,
This is how the first
700,000 people would be
internals.
dead right now. But it was a
Alright, let's
far
start.
less lethal disease.
Externals?
Look, his own person who
The
ran that
metagene.
for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said
All right, I think
it
I'm
was
done with this.
Catastrophic.
Like-
it was
like,
horrible. We didn't know
I don't
what we
think-
were
am
doing.
I missing anything
now
else?
He comes
Yeah.
up and he tells
I don't
I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace.
They're out of habit where their wife or husband is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
dying with it because he's never said. You said he's.
Yeah, okay.
This
We
is
know
a
where most
terrible
of this
thing.
goes. So, yeah. All right. Okay. So there we go. That is the latest presidential debate. So I think that's the water or something like that. So for those that are keeping track, I'm going to give this one, I think overall, I believe that Trump pulled out on this one. Like, he actually did a much better job in terms of showing himself correctly, in terms of being that sort of dude. Like, he actually worked better with not interrupting. He did interrupt more than he should have still in this one, but it's just kind of his habit, kind of his particular way and such. So it is what it is with that situation. But I think he had a lot more points of accounts. He had more points that he made, and he had a lot more ammo in his cannon. I think Biden actually came in a bit of a stutter sort of fest. So not necessarily stuttering, but his particular points were kind of just like he didn't come out with as much ammo and hot fire, so to speak. So that's the overall take that I got from this. Now, what is true and what's not, that's a whole nother thing. That's up for the fact checkers to check. But in terms of this actual debate, I think Trump handled himself really well in this particular one. Again, that's not to say what he was saying was true or not. I'm just saying the way he handled himself worked better, and he came off, I think one of his biggest things is that he came off more as a human, so to speak, as a realistic person. Whether or not it was insulting and like things like that, he came off more emotional that would connect, I think, with the regular people. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons Hillary had the hardest problems, because Hillary, Biden, they're politicians and they have talking points, and Trump made a really good point about the idea of Biden. All he has is political talking points like that, and they keep on looking at the camera, and they keep on making these American life scenarios that we're supposed to connect to. Again, whether you love him or hate him, Trump comes off really real and many times incoherent, but he comes off real because that's what a normal person would sound like, basically having an argument or whatever. So I definitely think with this particular one, Trump came off a lot better in this one. So, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the country needs in the future. So just something to keep in mind. But when it comes to just debates, this one, I think this one worked better and such. So, but again, that's completely different in terms of running a country and working with administrations and working with all the different people here. So, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed that particular long one for y'all. But if you want me to keep on doing that, and I guess join us again for, I believe, I don't know how we're going to cover the election. Somehow, some way, we're going to cover the election. Because that is a long one. That's a very, very long one. And I'm not sure how I want to go about doing that. But, that's going to be a hard one, because I don't really know what point you just stop. Like, it's going to be interesting, though. But we shall see. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed and you're following me on Twitch Live, AKASAN _plays, AKASAN _plays, for all that coverage with the election. We don't really want to look, we're not trying to make it an argument type of thing. We're just making it a very human sort of experience, so you guys can my 2016 stream was lit. I remember that, man. Some international company, I think some news company in Brazil, actually, they hit me up. They used me like internationally, because there's one scene. Thank you, Robo, for joining in here. They used that one quote of me, my reaction, where I'm just like, President Trump. Like, that shit was played all across Brazil. It was the craziest thing, man. I love Brazil, and I love my Brazilian women. So, mamacita. I'll see you guys for the election in about 2 weeks and such. Yeah.